Hi, I'm Paul Saracen, and I read the book Indignation by Phillip Roth. The word indignation means to just be really upset or angry because you feel like you've been treated unfair. And the main character in this book, Marcus Messner, feels like he's been treated very unfairly. To start off with, his father is getting increasingly worried about whatever he's doing, even though he's been a really responsible child all his life. He's just started college, and in high school, he was the valedictorian. He has a job. He's always focused on his studies, got straight A's. And his father's worrying about him going off in bars, getting drunk, disobeying the law, you know, being out at parties. And he's like, Dad, I was out studying. Why are you so worried about me all the time? But his dad just can't help but worry. And it could be several things. One, he's going off to college. He's getting older, becoming an adult. And also, the Korean War is going on. So if anything goes wrong and he gets caught, he could get expelled from college and drafted into the Korean War, which is something that his father does not want to happen. So originally, he's always had a great relationship with his father. He worked at his father's butcher shop, which is a kosher butcher shop. So the family's Jewish. He worked with his father, and he's learned a lot from his father. He's always respected his father, saw his father as a great role model. He's learned to always try his hardest, do his best, as he did in school. And the most important lesson he learned is that even when you don't want to do something, you just do it because it's the right thing to do. You just do it and get it over with, and things will be better for you in the end. So he's always just doing what he has to do, even if he doesn't want to do it. But his father just drives him so crazy that he just absolutely can't stand it anymore. And he moves from a college really close to his home in New Jersey all the way to Ohio. But his problems don't stop there. In Ohio, the new college, he finds several more problems. One, he ends up moving in with 3 other Jewish roommates, which he doesn't like because he wanted to be apart from, he wanted to experience new things, new ethnicities, new people, and living with 3 Jewish roommates just kind of feels like more of the same. Also, there's a requirement at the college, because it was originally built on a Baptist church, to attend chapel 40 times throughout their time there in order to graduate, which he just cannot stand. And not because he's Jewish, but actually because he's an atheist. He feels really offended by this, that he's being treated unfairly, that he's being forced to attend a chapel, not once, but 40 times over, and being told how to live by the people that preach there. So things escalate. He has a problem with one of his roommates who stays up really late. He needs to sleep so he can get up, work on his grades, work on his homework, and continue to get straight A's. And the other roommate just doesn't care. He asks his roommate, could you quiet down so I can get to sleep? And he's like, just plays all the louder. Plays records really loud, quotes lines really loud, and he just gets really upset and smashes a record against the wall. He ends up having to replace the record, and the entire time his roommate's just really condescending to him. So he ends up leaving that room, and he finds a new roommate who's just really quiet and doesn't talk that much. But he also starts getting distracted from his studies. He meets a girl, and he goes out with the girl, and on their first date, the girl takes things a little farther than he expected her to, and that kind of throws him off for a bit. He's kind of scared to see her again, but he still really likes her. And she says, I did that because I really like you. And I also have this history. He learns about her history. She's slit her wrist and attempted suicide before. She's overdosed on drugs and alcohol before. She's been to a psychotic ward before. Just all these really strange things. He doesn't really want to get involved with her, but he still really likes her. And he shows it to his roommate, this letter that they've written back and forth. And he calls the girl crazy. Marcus gets really offended, offends his roommate. His roommate punches him in the face. He leaves that roommate too. So now he's living all on his own in the worst room, in the worst dorm. And the dean contacts him, says, I want to talk about why you've been moving so much and see if we can sort something out. So he goes to meet with the dean, kind of offended by the dean, like, So I've moved a couple times. I don't see why I have to meet with you and be interrogated by you. And the dean kind of says, Marcus, you're just running away from all your problems. You don't deal with other people. If other people don't agree with exactly what you want, you just run away and you don't want anything to do with them. And Marcus is like, this one guy was just really annoying and distracting me from my studies. And the other guy punched me in the face. I don't want to be around people like that. I don't want to work things out. I want to be on my own. I want to focus on my studies. I want to figure stuff out, okay? Just let me live wherever I want to live. And also, I'm really offended that we have to go to chapel. So he gets in an argument about going to chapel, says this is an infringement on my rights, forcing me to do this thing that I don't want to do. Listen to these people tell me how to live when I already know how to live. I've gotten straight A's, I'm handling life well. And the dean's just really offended. Marcus is really offended. And Marcus ends up feeling ill just being around the dean. And he throws up in the dean's office. He leaves the room, throws up again that day, and he starts thinking, something's got to be wrong. He goes to the hospital. Turns out he has appendicitis. Has to have his appendix removed. So he gets his appendix removed. He's in the hospital recovering. And the girl comes back in the picture. She visits him at the hospital. His mom comes from New Jersey because they're worried about him, visits him in the hospital. She sees the girl and that she has a scar on her wrist, and she's like, please don't get involved with that girl at all anymore. I just don't want you to deal with that. So he stops seeing the girl. She disappears. And he just can't find her. She's not in his classes anymore. She's not in her dorm. He can't find her anywhere. So he goes back to the dean, asks him a question. He's like, do you know what happened to this girl? And he's like, yes. Did you do anything with this girl? And he's like, no, I haven't done anything with anyone in that respect. And the dean says, well, she had a nervous breakdown. She had to leave. She's back in a psychotic ward. And she's pregnant. And I think you got her pregnant. And Marcus is just really offended by this too. He's like, I couldn't have gotten anyone pregnant ever. That's not even possible. So don't go blaming me saying I got someone pregnant. And now he's starting to worry like, oh crap, if the dean really thinks I got this girl pregnant, he could expel me. And he really doesn't want to get expelled because he'll end up going into the Korean War and possibly dying. So he doesn't want that to happen. He doesn't get expelled. We don't really hear what happens to the girl after that. But there's still the issue with chapel. So he's talking with one of his friends about how much he hates chapel. And his friend says, you don't have to go to chapel. You can just pay someone else to go to chapel for you. So that's what he decides to do. He pays someone $1.50 for every time he goes. And that person goes to chapel and turns in a form pretending he's Marcus. But the dean catches him. And Marcus is in big trouble now. The dean says, you need to go to chapel 80 times because you tried to not go to chapel at all. That would come up to going to chapel pretty much every time until he graduated. And he hates it so much, he can't do that. And he gets expelled. He gets expelled from the college, he gets drafted in the Korean War, and he ends up dying by the end of the book. So it's a very tragic ending. So some of the questions I have would be, what are the reasons that you chose the college you chose? And how does that deal with dependence or independence or being with or without your family? Because Marcus chose colleges for both those reasons. One college he wanted to be close to home, another college he wanted to be far away from home. And sort of how is that reflected on your relationship with your parents and on the decisions you make while at college? Perhaps you chose Ball State because it's really far away and you wanted to be away from your parents, or because it's close to your family and close to your house and saved you money. So, and how is that reflected on your actions? Have you made some decisions you might not have made if you'd lived close to home, or have you strayed away from making some decisions because you're still close to home? My other question would be, how do you handle conflict with other people on campus? Because Marcus dealt with conflict kind of badly. He felt really self-righteous, like my way's right, and he paid the consequences for those actions. How have you dealt with conflict with your roommates? Have you talked things out with them? Have you just left? And how have you dealt with conflict with faculty? Have you compromised with them? Have you listened to them? Or have you really felt that you were right and the faculty was wrong? And how did the faculty react to you? Did they agree with you? Did they compromise with you? Or were they very sure they were right and that you were wrong? So those are my two questions. Why did you move to the college? How does that deal with your family and independence and decision making? And then also, how do you deal with conflict with other students and faculty? Thank you.